Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC. The champagne is officially chilling. It is. So good evening to you, and how you be? William Haynes here. You there, here on this Wednesday night on the William Haynes Show at 10:53, live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. I am the bearer of great news. The Rays 8-4 tonight over the New York Yankees take a commanding 2-1 series lead. Have officially pushed the Yankees on the brink of elimination. The Rays just have to win one of the next two to take the series and advance to the American League Championship Series. It looks like tomorrow it will be Jordan Montgomery going for the Yankees up against Ryan Yarbrough in some sort, whether starting him outright or behind an opener, and we'll discuss that a little bit later in the show. I know we have some people that are eager to call in. I have a little bit of a clip, a little monologue thing that I'm going to do. We'll go to break. Then after that, we'll take the calls. So I appreciate everyone who's tuning in tonight. So the clip that I have, of course, it was just from Game 2. So I'll play that clip now, and then I'll say a couple words, and then we'll go to break.
It stinks to lose the first game, but both of these teams have to win 3 in order to advance. So there are 4 games left. So the Rays have won 3 out of 4. In fact, the Rays have swept the Yankees before. So it's not what I would consider to be ideal, but you have a pretty good pitching matchup the rest of the way.
Division Series, and there is the 6'8" Tyler Glasnow getting ready for his first Division Series start. He was excellent in Game 2 of the Wild Card Series. Here's Aaron Judge, and the Yankees did win a Garrett Cole game. Power river right there as Glasnow strikes out Judge. By the way, no, that one's hit hard right field. On the run is Judge going back, and that one is up, and it is off the top of the wall. No, it's gone. They call it a home run. Well, that's Jay Happ on the mound. Aaron Boone, that's right, returning the favor to the Tampa Bay Rays. Going with the opener here. And now Jay Happ will get this second inning. So that's a 1-inning outing for Davy Garcia. Mike Zunino, he's got big power, but he can do that. Sends it high in the air to left field. Back is Frazier looking up, and goodbye. 2-run home run. Mike Zunino. He is a threat at the plate for that reason. Manuel Margot at the plate for the Rays. Got a runner at first in Choi. And Margot in the center field. That ball's hit well. Hicks is on the run, and that ball's gone. Eddie Margot, a 2-run blast to center field. 5-1 Tampa Bay. Here's 2 on, nobody out in this 4th inning with Stanton coming up. Won a home run derby here at Petco Park, and he hammers that one. Stanton will watch lets it fly way out of here. Oh my goodness. Giancarlo Stanton with a mammoth home run, and the Yankees are right back in it. Austin Meadows, the leadoff hitter and the designated hitter, is a 2-1. In the air, center field, hit pretty well. Back goes Hicks. He's at the wall, and this one's going to fly out of here. Austin Meadows with a fist bump. He's gone deep, and the Rays extend their lead to 7-4. They were at first and second with nobody out. Now 2 men are out. Here he comes, and he got him. Nick Anderson strikes out Sanchez, LeMahieu, and Judge. 3 big Ks. The batting champ at the plate. LeMahieu rips one into center field, a base hit. Coming in to score, Urshela. Torres on his way to third. DJ LeMahieu extends it. An RBI single for the Yankees. And LeMahieu will, in fact, get Judge to the plate. 0-2 pitch. Judge on the ground. Big hop over at third. Wendell makes a play, and that's your ball game. The Tampa Bay Rays win Game 2.
Tell you this, every time the team that invented the opener is the Tampa Bay Rays, and the reason they invented the opener is because they didn't have enough starters, so they were just trying to piece it together. So you took a guy who the other 29 teams in baseball would trade the Yankees one of their top prospects to get, Davy Garcia, and you wasted him in 1 inning. And now you have put yourself in a situation that if there is a Game 4, and there will be a Game 4 obviously, it's going to be Jordan Montgomery who starts. That's the guy you want starting a game where you could go home. That's not a knock on Jordan Montgomery. The Yankees had several options for today, and they choose to go with an opener so that the other manager could flip his lineup, which he didn't even blink. Because why didn't he blink? Because Jay Happ is not a guy who's devastating against left-handers. And you can see what the lefties did today. They were 2 for 7 against him. That didn't scare him into doing that. They weren't bringing in Sandy Koufax. It doesn't make sense what they did. This was a move that would be looked at as a panic move. There's no need to panic. You won yesterday. You have Tanaka tomorrow. Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? If the Yankees end up losing this series, they will look at this gamble and say, that's the reason why we lost. You let the Tampa Bay Rays back into the series, and it's inexcusable what happened today. It didn't make sense, and as I said earlier, it's the New York Yankees trying to show everybody we're smarter than you. And the Tampa Bay Rays, by the way, they're pretty smart too. So you're going to try to outsmart a team that's pretty smart in its own right. It was a huge gamble, and it exploded today.
That final clip there was from Michael Kay on the Yes Network. He does the play-by-play on the TV during the regular season for the Yankees. And I know tonight the topic of conversation is Game 3, as it should be. But I think as I do a post-game show, minutes after the game, we can lose a little bit of perspective on the game that just happened. So, 24 hours or so after Game 2 had ended, gathering that perspective, as I said, there's a lot brewing with the New York Yankees, and I won't necessarily go into that. But it was certainly an interesting decision, one that I did not expect when they announced Deivi Garcia to start Game 3. I'd previewed the game as, okay, he's probably going to go 5 or 6. It's his first postseason start. He's the youngest Yankee to start since 1950. All that stuff, but, he had gone 6 and 7 innings deep for the Yankees on several occasions and kind of kept their starting rotation afloat. Well, no, he pitches 1 inning, gives up the home run to Arozarena, and then out comes Jay Happ in the next inning, and he only gets through 2 2/3 innings and takes the loss for them, giving up 4 runs in the process. So Game 2 was certainly interesting. I think the Yankees had an opportunity to put their foot on the throat of the Rays, and they make that decision to put in Jay Happ, and the Rays absolutely tee off on the veteran left-hander, and then ride that momentum into Game 3. And now the Rays really hold all the power. And let's not forget Jordan Montgomery, the left-handed starter going for the Yankees tomorrow. He could not get out of the first inning. In his only start against the Rays this year. There was, it's hard to say just about as much at stake in tomorrow's game as there was in that other game. That came the day after Aroldis Chapman threw, 100 miles an hour at Mike Brosso's head, and then Brosso got his revenge with the home run in the first inning off of Montgomery the next day. So, and Ryan Yarbrough, we'll talk about that when we kind of preview the game, but props to the Rays for taking advantage of what they did in Game 2, and definitely give them props for riding that momentum into doing what they did in Game 3. The long ball, again, was huge. About 80% of their runs are coming from the home runs, and that's really been the case for both of the teams in this series. And that it's kind of taken me back a little bit to the postseason last year, where a team that had trouble scoring runs at times, couldn't really move runners over, but wasn't scoring a whole lot of home runs. You get to the postseason, and the long ball is carrying your offense. Kiermaier had one. Michael Perez had a huge one, and then Randy Arozarena, another solo shot. He's batting over 600 in the postseason right now, and what a debut season he's having for the Rays. So everything's going in the right direction. They now have the Yankees again on their heels. The Rays just need one game in the next two, and the way the pitching lines up, I think you certainly like the Rays' chances. So what we're going to do, I know we have some people listening, some people that would like to call in. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to break now. When we come back, we'll take your calls. The number to call, we have a line open as of right now, is 877-566-1020. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, sports fans. William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBC Stream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCstream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. Sports Radio 66. Sports Radio
HBC.
Good evening. How are you doing? I'm feeling good. You know, I still got another team playing, and vintage playoff Kershaw has made his appearance once again. So it is now far closer than it should be. But this is definitely a very, very good start. I was a little bit concerned after the first loss. I was like, oh man, because remember, we talked about this. I think we talked about how I thought Snell and Glasnow were going to shove and Morton was going to be bad. Well, I would like to issue a public apology to Charlie Morton. I know he doesn't listen to this show. I mean, I would think he doesn't, even though he should, because it's awesome. But I would think he doesn't because Charlie is the kind of guy who I would expect to, like, not listen to anything at all. But, like, he's so much better than I gave him credit for, and I legitimately feel terrible that I thought he was going to be bad and that Tanaka was going to beat him, because he was electric today. He was killing it. I mean, he had one legitimate jam the whole night and got out of it beautifully. Gave up, like, what, one earned run the whole night? Two?
Yeah.
I mean, just unbelievable performance. In all honesty, one of the better performances we've seen from our pitchers in the playoffs, especially on as much rest as he was. He really killed it. I mean, probably not as good as either of Glasnow's performances, maybe not as good as the first Snell performance. I'd say it's about right up there. He was really solid. My father just said, yeah, who called that? Yeah. I'll admit my dad definitely predicted that the veteran would win out in this one, and he was right. This was a game that you did not expect Morton, or certainly I did not expect Morton to come out shoving, and he absolutely brutalized one of the scariest lineups in baseball.
Absolutely, a tremendous performance, really vintage Morton. I looked back going into today's start for him and looked at what he did in the postseason last year in the wild card game and Game 3 of the ALDS, both elimination games, by the way. Pretty much identical stat lines, 5 innings, about an earned run or 2, and about 95 pitches. And I had said that that's what I would expect from Morton. He's 36 years old. No spot is too big for him. He knows how to kind of maneuver stuff. And he did exactly what we'd expected him to do. 5 innings, 1 earned run. Did get into that jam. He's about good for one of those kind of struggle innings. But just as he did in that wild card game last year, the bases loaded with 1 out, and the opposing team only ended up coming away with 1 run, and then opened the way for the bullpen to do what they did, and they didn't have to go to the A guys too much because of the lead. So I think everything that happened tonight was playing right into the hands of Kevin Cash, and he's got the Yanks right where he wants them going into Game 4.
Absolutely, because now with Game 4, his options are essentially unlimited because you just gave Anderson a day of rest. So now you've given Anderson a day of rest, you've given Fairbanks a day of rest. The only legitimate A guy we put out is Castillo, and he didn't even pitch that much. So in reality, he probably could come out too if we were desperate. You know, Cash has them in the palm of his hand now because he can literally throw every matchup, every arm angle, anything he wants. I really think my game plan, if I'm Kevin Cash, my big brain game plan, tell Thompson he gets the first inning. Thompson gets the first inning. He's already been announced as the opener. If he shoves, give him more outs. Get him to Stanton, because it wouldn't shock me if Stanton bats 5th or 4th. So if he shoves, if he gets 3 quick outs, give him Stanton in the second inning. If for some reason something goes wrong there, pull him, go straight to Yarbrough. If Yarbrough's shoving, leave him in as long as he can go. I don't touch Yarbrough if he's going as long as he can. Let him go, let him pitch. If he's solid, not giving up a bunch of earned runs, leave him in as long as you have to. If he gets into a jam, go Sleggers, because Sleggers is a righty with a huge size advantage, and I think that 1-2-3 punch is the kind of thing the Yankees are just going to be thrown completely off balance by. If you go Thompson with the sidearm submarine angle, then you go Yarbrough with the lefty kind of, upper cutter, curvy fastball, like all these sort of things that are kind of trick pitches, all these weapons in his arsenal. And then if he gets in trouble, you go to Sleggers, who's just domineering on the mound just like Glasnow. And when you throw those 3 different arm angles, 3 different styles of pitching, and 3 different sizes of pitcher at the Yankees, I think you're going to be in serious trouble if you do it correctly and if you don't let them get too many earned runs and if the offense does its job.
Absolutely, yeah. A couple of points what you said. I agree with Thompson. He's a guy that could probably get you maybe 4 or 5 outs depending on how it's going. All the indicators that I've looked at tells me that Ryan Yarbrough is probably due for about 3 innings or so. That's what he did in the playoffs last year. He came behind Diego Castillo, who opened and then pitched 2 innings against the Astros. And I looked at what Yarbrough did in his final appearance of the season, and it was 3 1/3 against the Phillies behind an opener, and he's a guy that definitely can start, but that tells me that Cash wanted to prepare him for that spot, so maybe you get 4 or 5 outs from Thompson, go 3 innings or so for Yarbrough, and then I agree with you, Slegger's a guy that could definitely get 2 innings, and then also they've got the whole bullpen open. Diego Castillo, if Cash is comfortable with him pitching 3 straight days, he hasn't been overtaxed, so he certainly can. Nick Anderson is certainly good for 3 to 6 really quick outs. And another thing that I'll bring up: do not count out Blake Snell to potentially close this game. I looked; he pitched in the postseason last year on 2 days rest, which will be the case for him tomorrow, and got the final 2 outs of Game 4 against Houston. So he's got the whole stable at a 98. Guys throwing 98, as you could say. Yeah, the game plan I think is there, and it's a good one.
I think you got to be careful with Snell because Snell got shelled by the Yankees last time. So I think if you're going to go Snell, we should have a solid lead. And honestly, even then, I wouldn't bother. I just let him rest. If we've got a solid lead, don't even bother with Snell. McClanahan is the kind of lefty who I think is better against the Yankees because he's got more overpowering stuff than Snell. I mean, Snell is absolutely amazing when he's on, and he wasn't on Monday, but I think that a little bit harder thrower on the McClanahan side, he's the kind of guy that can maybe put the Yankees off balance, especially when they're already demoralized. That one home run that he gave up to Stanton in garbage time, basically meaningless. It wouldn't have even. It was only one earned run in the first place. So he would. I think Snell would be a little bit of a kind of weird option, especially after how he kind of was against the Yankees before. He might be an option that I would stay away from personally, especially because I don't want to tax him too much. I want him to be fresh and ready when we got to face somebody else if we're winning tomorrow. You know, it's like if whoever it is, Oakland or the Astros. God, I hope it's the Astros. If they're going to win the series, let them come to us. Fine, I'll take the Astros any day of the week if they're going to win this series against Oakland because of how poverty Oakland is. I would be fine with that. But ultimately, I think it's better to leave Snell out of the equation unless you absolutely have to bring him in. And I would say you'd have to be pretty desperate to make that play. I don't know why Cash would do that.
Yeah, I could understand the argument maybe that it would be over managing, but say, I mean, if you've got the bullpen used up, and I'm not completely committed to it, but let's say, I mean, you got an out in the ninth inning, and you got, you know, maybe Aaron Judge and Luke Voit coming up. I would well, maybe not Judge, but I would trust Blake Snell. Kind of the way he's pitching right now, kind of over pitching the sliders and the curveballs, to me fits a little bit better in a back end role than as a starter. I mean, he's obviously going to be a starter, but those pitches work a little bit better coming out of the pen, so I would like him for that standpoint. But yeah, I'm looking at the roster. They've got all kinds of guys. I mean, let's not rule out, you know, a guy like Oliver Drake facing three batters. Pete Fairbanks will be available. They've got guys like Loop. I agree with McClanahan, the overpowering stuff. I mean, really was toying with those Yankee hitters at times. I think, yeah, that Stanton home run was just kind of his welcome to the show moment, and he'll be able to shake that off and get through it. So, yeah, I mean, Cash can go to whoever he wants. They've got plenty of guys who can get outs, and they've just got to do it. That's it.
Yeah, and McClanahan did shake it off brilliantly. Got to give him credit. That was a really great moment. But I have to say, there's one person that really is just completely stealing the show with this game, with every game. Randy Arozarena, man.
Absolutely. Your Mookie Betts guy.
Oh, my God. Yeah, yes, everybody's now saying he's the Cuban Mookie Betts. And I said it first, just for the record. I said it before Cash ever said it. So I want my royalty check for that. Come on, Kevin. You're listening to this show, aren't you? I know you're here, Cash. I know you're listening to me. You know, but yeah, he has been electric. I mean, he's the kind of guy who I thought would be really, really good for us. I thought he'd be an excellent player. I did not expect this. This is next level generational talent kind of stuff. This is the stuff that you do not see from players very often in your lifetime. I mean, I remember when Mike Trout first came on the scene, and he was incredible. I remember when Mookie first came on the scene, and he was incredible. This is the kind of stuff that you would expect from somebody like that. I don't think anybody expected that Randy Arozarena would be that kind of player, but I think once again, Eric Neander has utterly and completely fleeced the Cardinals, because even if Liberatore turns out to be a Cy Young winner, I don't know if he's going to be as good as Arozarena.
Absolutely. And the Rays
stellar.
got plenty of arms, too, so you want the position player. Yeah, I totally agree, and what he's done is such a big deal, because you look tonight that the top two hitters in the lineup, Austin Meadows and Brandon Lau, combine for 0 for 9. So you're thinking, well, how does a team score 8 runs when the top two hitters gives them nothing? Oh, yeah, Randy Arozarena, 3 for 4 with the home run and also added a walk. I mean, he got on base 4 times tonight. So he's really been that anchor, that presence that we thought Lau would be. And he's kind of taken over for that. And yeah, I mean, you got to love what he's doing. I was a little bit concerned at the beginning, at the end of the regular season, that pitchers had kind of started to figure him out. And then come playoff time, he got in that zone again. And man, he's tearing it up. You're right.
I mean, let's be honest. Has anyone ever had this level of production off of Cole, Happ, and Tanaka in the same week? I mean, he just is absolutely mowing down the Yankees' best pitchers. He chased Masahiro Tanaka from a playoff game. He chased him. That just doesn't happen. The kind of guys that can chase Masahiro Tanaka from a playoff game are cheating Astros players and Mookie Betts. Those are the kind of guys who can just mow down these incredible pitchers. This guy is a generational talent. If the Rays do not lock him down, they would be absolute fools. They have to give this guy money. He has to get paid. immediately. Like I'm talking, got to have a Lau-esque contract, if not higher. We have to make sure that he's locked down as long as possible through his ARB years, take care of all that. And then when that's over, Sternberg's going to have to pony up because this guy is a Mookie Bettsian talent, and I don't want to see him going to the Dodgers. Or maybe I do. I don't know. Do I want to see him go to the Dodgers? I don't know. Definitely don't want to see him go to the Yankees or the Red Sox. That's for sure. So he needs to get locked down for now, and then when his contract's up in 2029, they got to make sure that he's locked down for good. Because unless he goes through like a dramatic regression next year, I think he's going to be the kind of guy that we see as like a generational talent for the Rays from this point forward. And I think Lau is that too. He's the difference, though, I think, between Lau and Arozarena. Lau's a bit streakier, and he also has kind of had to carry the team on his back until Arozarena showed up. So he's been asked a lot, this year. That we've asked him to do a lot. We've asked him to basically be the backbone of the offense for so long, and I think that the pressure is starting to get to him. I think he's really just kind of, he needs that co-star. He needs somebody with him that can just keep the pressure up and make sure that there are other threats in the offense other than him. And I think that Arozarena is that guy, and if Meadows gets back to full health, he's that guy. That's a three-headed monster. If those three guys are all right at the same time, put those three up against any lineup any day of the week. I don't care if it's Judge, Stanton, or LeMahieu. Those or Betts, Seager, and Bellinger. Those three guys, if they're all healthy and if they're all hitting at the same time, is probably the scariest top three in baseball, other than maybe those other two I just mentioned. And even then, I think it's pretty just much a toss-up.
That's a really good point. Yeah, the years ahead, they've got a great offense. I think we're both going to end up agreeing here. Against the lefty starter Jordan Montgomery, I would say, and I'm sure you would agree, putting Mike Brasso at second base and taking Lau out of the lineup. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I would put Brass at second, or I'd put Brass at third. One way or the other, there should be that presence. I actually would also say put Arozarena leadoff. Put him leadoff. Do the Mookie Betts thing. Just do it. Literally, you Cash, I know you're listening. You stole my Mookie Betts comment. Now steal my idea and put him in leadoff position in the lineup. I mean, there's really no other reason to sit on your hands and just let these guys that can't hit leadoff hit leadoff. Randy Arozarena is the kind of guy who should be hitting leadoff. I mean, we've noticed the most production we get out of him is at the very beginning of innings. He's catching pitchers off balance. You put him at leadoff, you're going to get leadoff homers, you're going to get leadoff doubles, you're going to get leadoff singles, the kind of stuff that Meadows and Lau can clean up, or Choi can clean up. I mean, Choi and him have been an excellent 1-2 punch. You've been getting a lot of production out of that 1-2 punch. That's the kind of thing. Brasso, I'm sure, would be another good one to put behind him. I would really like to see Arozarena given a shot at leadoff because he is a Mookie Bettsian kind of player. He should be in the first or second spot in the order. If we're really going to trust him to be like that, I think we got to let him give it a shot. He's been killing it in early at bats when pitchers are off balance. He's been putting them off balance, and I think you got to give that a try in a legitimate situation like tomorrow, where it's win or go home for the Yankees, and win and you go to the playoffs for us. You go to the ALDS for us. I think you got to give that a shot, in my honest opinion.
That final point really just sold me on that, because you said the Yankees, for them, it's win or go home. Why wouldn't you want to put your best hitter lead off and immediately put the pressure on the Yanks right out of the gate? I love that strategy. Just pack the top of the order, stack the righties against the lefty, Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery couldn't finish the first inning in his only appearance this year against the Rays, and historically hasn't been great against him either. So yeah, chase him again. Just get those runs and then sit on that bullpen, the pitching strategy that we discussed. I mean, now I think we're both talking each other into this. I love the Rays' chances in Game 4. It seems like everything's going in their direction.
Well, let's not get cocky. We have to remember that we're facing one of the most dangerous offenses in the major leagues. We're facing an offense that has pummeled us every single night. Even when the pitchers are shoving, they've pummeled us. Glasnow was pitching out of his mind, and that score was still very close. Tonight was much closer than the game would actually belie. I mean, if you really look at what happened tonight, it was the blowout. But if you look at the score, not a blowout. So we gotta be very careful here, assuming that our pitchers can handle so much, assuming that our order can handle so much, especially with this offensive explosion. I would expect a little bit fewer runs tomorrow. So we really got to be careful just assuming those things. But one of the things I would like to do, and like I said, Cash, if you're listening, I get the sense you might be, put Renfroe in the lineup. I know it sounds crazy. I have absolutely talked a lot of crap on Renfroe before, but Renfroe rakes in San Diego. The dude absolutely destroys pitching in his home ballpark for the last 4 years prior to coming into this organization. I mean, keep in mind, and this is a heartbreaking moment for me, this is the guy who got a walk-off grand slam against Kenley Jansen. He should, in my opinion, he should be towards the bottom of the order tomorrow. Let him sit down there at the bottom of the order. Let him be that power threat, scare the crap out of the Yankees whenever he comes into the box. That's the kind of guy I want to put them off balance as much as possible. He's the kind of guy I want to put at the bottom of the order. Him and Zunino, I think they both should be in tomorrow, and just let him scare the Yankees, because both of them have done serious damage against the Yankees already, and at least one of them has. The other one did an incredible amount of damage against the Blue Jays. I think you got to put them down there and give him even more of a threat, really, really put the fear of God into these guys that the Rays are playing to go to the ALCS. Like, they are playing to end this at 4. Because we don't want to see Cole again. We have no desire to see him again, even on short rest. I don't want any part of Cole in a Game 5. Let's just end it now. All of our money pitchers.
One of Cash's quotes in the postgame, he said he's not fully convinced that Cole won't pitch in Game 4 on 2 days rest, and Garrett Cole, to me, just seems like one of those guys that might. I would expect kind of like a Devi Garcia thing, and Devi Garcia is going to be good to go as well. Maybe they get 1 or 2 from Jordan Montgomery and then just throw everyone at him. About Renfroe, I could see him in and at the bottom of the order. What I would do, I would maybe put him at like the cleanup spot or so and let him face Jordan Montgomery, and then when they take him out, then you just put one of the other outfielders in his stead, because I would imagine they can go kind of a platoon strategy with the lineup, and then as soon as they go to the righties, you just flip your lineup the other way around.
Sure, that's not a bad idea either. I wouldn't be against that at all, especially because it might give us another chance to see a Renfroe grand slam. Pretty easy to see that happening. Just think about it for a second. Put Randy in the leadoff spot, leadoff single. Put Choi second, takes a walk. Wendell gets on base with a bunt or something, and there you go. Hunter Renfroe sitting there in the cleanup spot. Jordan Montgomery is terrified, and you got another shot for a grand slam. I would agree with that. That's a decent strategy. That's the kind of thing that I might do. And I said there just now, put Wendell close to the top of the order. The dude's racing right now, so he should, even though he's a lefty, I actually would say maybe put him a little higher up, try and get him before Renfroe or something like that. Or if you're going to put Renfroe in the bottom, put Wendell ahead of him so you can try and get people on base if there's another majestic Renfroe homer. Because as much as we crap on the dude, he really has a beautiful swing. When he gets into one, that ball is hitting to the stratosphere. I'll take him against Giancarlo Stanton in the home run derby any day of the week.
Yeah, and I think, you make some good points. The narrative, the storyline basically writes itself as Hunter Renfroe returns to Petco Park and hits a big home run. I could see that. Yeah, I think just talking to you, my mind has been opened up to so many possibilities with what they could do with the lineup and the pitching. I mean, Cash has got everything at his disposal. And, Kevin Cash has been having his way with Aaron Boone from a managerial standpoint. And, the Rays are going to go into tomorrow's game 100 times more prepared than the Yankees. Kevin Cash is going to know what they're going to do in every scenario, every count, every score, and every inning. And I mean, no matter what they do, because it always is with the Rays, I think it's going to work out. And I can't wait for it.
Definitely the managerial chess match is going to be something that's talked about a lot, because Cash played his cards in the way you might expect him to. He pitched Snell the first game, Glasnow the second game, Morton the third game. Boone decided to try and big brain himself and put Garcia in as an opener, and Cash completely saw it coming. It's literally it's Snape from Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows, or Half-Blood Prince, when you dare use my own spells against me. Yeah, it's literally the same scenario. He used the opener against Cash, and you just can't do that because Cash was totally ready for it. He stacked the lineup with both lefties and righties alternating, knowing that that inevitably Garcia is not going to be the guy that's there the whole time, and someone else is coming in, whether that's Montgomery or Happ. He knew. He saw it coming, and that's the kind of thing. Boone thought that he could out-cash Kevin Cash. He got cocky because he won that first game. He stole the first game, thought he could out-cash Kevin Cash, and he just completely blew it. I mean, I think the Yankees really need to take a hard look at their managerial situation. I think that the Yankees fan on our Discord agrees that there is something he's playing for his job at this point. They got to take a hard look at that managerial situation once this is all over and done, because is he really going to be able to stand up to Kevin Cash in future postseason battles or in future regular season battles? I don't know if he can. And by the way, just to put out there, Kevin Cash doesn't win Manager of the Year. It's a bloody travesty. I mean,
Absolutely.
He's made some mistakes this year. He has absolutely made a few mistakes. Sure, 100%. He's made a couple mistakes. I would argue not pulling Blake Snell in Game 1. I mean, we might have won the series today if that didn't happen. But let's be real, we don't know. We can't be sure of that. And other than that, he's been impeccable with his moves and strategic ideology this whole time. So, yeah, he's got to be Manager of the Year, and hopefully he manages us all the way to a World Series title. Let's hope.
I can't wait. Yeah, the way he managed that bullpen, I mean, no one could have done it like that, anyone else but him. And one thing just I'll say about Boone, it's not a Yankee show, so I won't go the whole deep dive. I'm kind of plugged into kind of the New York stuff. The stuff that I've gathered on that, it seemed like that move specifically to just have Debbie Garcia pitch the inning and then go to J Happ, that was coming from Brian Cashman and that kind of the stats department, and that Aaron Boone has kind of been kind of a puppet type manager, and that was just an order that was given down to him. The way he answered the questions about it after the game, it just seemed like that wasn't really his call. And tomorrow, managing an elimination game, it's not easy when you're the manager and you're not the one making the decision. So, but again, this whole series from a managing standpoint has been played completely into the hands of the Rays. So, Seth, thank you so much for the call. I'll be rooting for the Dodgers to close this game out the last couple innings. Go enjoy it. I won't be on the air tomorrow if the Rays win for obvious reasons, but I'll look forward to talking to you soon whenever I'm back on the air.
Sounds great. Let's hope for a win tomorrow. Let's close out this series and, get the chance to end the cheaters run in the ALCS.
Absolutely. Can't wait for it. Thanks again, as always.
You too. Have a good one.
Thanks. All right, Seth from Los Angeles. A great call every single time. He always has great points, and as I say with so many of our callers, the show is so much better when you guys are a part of it. If we have anyone else, I know we had a caller, it got dropped because we had someone else on the line. You can call in right now. We do currently have a line open at 877-566-1020. What I'll do here, I'll take another quick break, try and maybe see if we can get some other people on the line, and if not, we'll go and plow through, get through the inning by inning stuff, tell you what you need to know about the Bucs score and whatnot, and also prep you for Game 4. Also, I'm not going to touch on it a whole lot because the Rays are a much bigger story at this moment, but the Bucs playing on Thursday Night Football against the Bears, so a good chance to go to 4-1. We actually have a line. We have someone calling in right now. We'll go ahead and take that. All right, we've got someone calling in right now. What can you say?
Hello, this is Sendix Bunny again. You going to go to break?
No, you're good.
All right, man. It's good to be on again.
Good to have you.
All right. So, I listened to Seth. Interesting to hear his viewpoints, especially out of L.A. The Cuban Mookie Betts comment's kind of funny. I'm high on the Rosarina too, but I kind of mostly see him as a right-handed version of Austin Meadows.
Yeah, I see that too. Yeah, I see the similarities.
Because, I feel like right now he's just on a hot streak, and that's good. We need him on a hot streak. He's a really good player. I feel like he's going to be a cornerstone in our outfield for a long time, but, I want to see more, a full year out of him before I anoint him a guy like an MVP player.
Yeah, that's some good perspective, and I'd mention as well. I think when Randy came up, he had the hot first week and a half or so, and then he really hit kind of a cold streak. So there'll be a transition period to him from the major leagues, and I think the Rays can't necessarily look ahead to next year. You just got to ride that wave because he's carrying the top of the order right now.
He's cheap right now, so maybe there's not a rush to get him to a long-term deal, but
The only thing I would say about the contract is, like, for example, with Brandon Lau, I believe before the 2019 season, they got him on something along the lines of it was like 6 years, $25 million or something like that.
It was a great contract, I'll say that. I remember the deal, the terms of it. It was kind of similar to what Ozzy Albies got, I think. Except I think that was a little bit more of a runaway than what Ethan Lau got.
Yeah,
like
so
for the Braves, like they underpaid the heck out of Albies, and I think our terms are kind of similar.
Yeah, and that's the risk versus reward. Is if Arozarena ends up not being a good player, then you get burned on the contract. But if you catch him early and you get him to ink that deal, because obviously these minor league players, they're making $500, $600 a year. They want to take the money now. They want to get those millions now instead of kind of leveraging further along. So I would be in favor of them maybe trying to lock them up right now. But I agree with you. Be cautiously optimistic about it because you never know. This is a very small sample size.
And I mean, if we end up going on a big run and he's spearheading it, he has all the leverage in the world.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. Yeah, because he's going to be the playoff MVP or
he'd
something
be like the playoff hero. Yeah, I mean, when's the last time a playoff hero didn't get a huge payday? Like we just saw it with Strasburg. I remember 5 years ago, you put the Mets team when you enter in. Daniel Murphy got that big deal.
That's
and he
right.
hasn't lived up to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so sometimes it doesn't work
He bounced around a bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, he what was it? 11 straight games he had a home run
for Daniel Murphy.
Yeah, it was an insane streak. It was like 7, 8, or even 11 or something like that.
Wow, I don't really recall, but yeah, that's I remember the deal, and yeah, sometimes
he
doesn't
set a
work
record for consecutive games in the playoffs without home runs. So
wow,
and he ended up signing a huge deal, and it ended up not working out for the Nationals, I believe, who got him. So I understand, and I believe in Arozarena, but I just don't want to. If we can get a good deal, if we can get him to terms similar to Lau, maybe a little bit more, then I'm fine because the market's going to increase. So similar players are going to make more money as time goes on. So if he gets more money than Lau, I think that's still a great deal. But I feel like if he's a huge World Series hero, whatever agent he has is going to say, no, I want $20 million right now, and we're just going to have to wait until maybe he cools off a little bit. But even then, he'll probably still be like I think like a 900 OPS guy who plays somewhat decent defense and can play all the spots. Like Meadows when he plays well throughout a full season.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure Scott Boras will be trying to get Randy Arozarena's rights by the end of the season, just like what happened to Blake Snell. And that transitions to my next point. There's a lot of guys on this team that are going to have to get paid at some point. I don't know exactly the terms of how many years of control, but I mean, down the line, you got guys like Willie Adames, Austin Meadows is going to be up soon. You got Tyler Glasnow. And I think Blake Snell is probably going to be the one that got away, I'm sure, just because you can only pay so many
he's already
guys.
got a deal.
He does. Gotcha.
He already got Blake Snell's deal.
Gotcha. So
yeah, it's a pretty good deal. I don't know if he'll pitch all the way through it, but I hope so.
Gotcha. Yeah. So there's some guys that they have already under contract, and some guys that they're gonna have to pay, and also
you got Lau and you got Snell. I agree with Willie Adames. I really agree. I would love to get any of the guys you said under contract. I feel like Willie's more important than a lot of people say because they see Franco and they see, Franco's top prospect. He's being projected to be a high, wonderful player, and I think he will be that. But I also think he'll be that at third base because I've always seen all the scouting reports. His defense his range is average, and I get that. So I don't want to replace a guy who's a Gold Glove caliber defender who's still a plus hitter for the shortstop position with someone who's going to be a great hitter, but maybe average at best at defense. And I've seen some scouting reports say his arm's a little below average, and I see some scouting reports say his arm's well above average. It's a 60 grade on Pipeline. It's a 45 grade on Baseball America, but so I'm willing to think, it's probably a 55, 60 grade. You move him over to third base. He doesn't need as much range, but he's got an arm that's functional for a shortstop, so it's going to be functional for a third baseman. And you still get the hitting potential. We don't know if Yandy is going to be here long term. We don't know if Wendell's going to be here long term. Those are two good players. I think he's going to be better than them, and he's a switch hitter, so he gives you both sides of the plate there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I know it's a lofty comparison, and it may not make too much sense, but the way I've always seen the Adames and Franco situation is basically Adames is your Derek Jeter, and you got the Franco kid coming in. Even though he's a shortstop, he gets kicked out to third base because Adames is your shortstop. He's so good there defensively. There's no purpose doesn't make sense to move Adames to third base, and I would hate to see him go. So, I mean, that's your infield of the future.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Adames is solidly a four-WAR kind of guy year in, year out, and you just don't find those on the street. I mean, we do, but not the other 29 teams don't do that. So
yeah,
and we shouldn't act like we can always do that. So you have a guy who's an all-star here and there caliber player who can win a Gold Glove at that position and still give you offensive production. He's not the guy we had here before was a really good defender right before Adames that we traded when Adames got promoted.
Danny Hechavarria.
Hechavarria, yeah, I loved his defense. He
I
was
did
so
too.
calm. He would bobble a ball and drop it, and most players would just panic and rush to throw, and it would be an error. He just drops it and just picks it up, throws it out. Actually saved the game in Oakland doing just that. I remember it. It was the most amazing defensive play I've ever seen where someone screwed up and completely made up for it in the same play. But he didn't have a bat. I mean, at certain points, his OPS looked fine, but that was because it was a small sample size. Hechavarria is just not a guy who's going to give you the offensive production to stay in the lineup every day. Willie Adames does do that. I realize we platoon him just to get the very most out of him and Wendell because we have that luxury.
Yeah.
But you can still afford to have Willie Adames in the lineup because he's still every day, and we do more often than not nowadays, especially because Wendell has to play third base more with Diaz being hurt and just, not necessarily being, with Yoshi not being fully acclimated yet. He probably would have started being on fire about right now if we got a full season.
You think so? You're optimistic about Yoshi?
Yeah, I feel like we have to be with how much money we're paying him.
That's true. Yeah, so what, $6 million next year?
Here's the thing is that he controls the zone very well. He's got a good eye. And the one thing I had concern about with him is that his swing's a little slow, but as long as he can get the bat on the ball, he's going to hit home runs. He's going to hit 25, 30. So if you can get a guy who can play an outfield spot and third base, which he's surprisingly done well, for someone who didn't hardly do it at all for the first 30 years of his life. Well, he's like 29 now, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he hardly ever played third base, and now he looks like someone who you could stick out there half the time. So, and we won't need to use that luxury, but we'll always have lineups where we want to be exotic and get the most out of our players. So, yeah, I feel like he'll justify the contract. I doubt very heavily he'll have the numbers he has in Japan, but he doesn't need to do that. We don't need him to be a star. We need him to be a good, productive player, and ultimately I believe he'll be that. He just doesn't have the experience, and this season, with it being truncated, he doesn't get the opportunity to see all these pitchers, because a pitcher, the first time you see a batter, the pitcher has the advantage, and he's not going to be able to see a lot of guys going into the playoffs if we can get out of this round and finishing's up tomorrow or the next day. He's going to be facing against guys he's never seen before again, so I don't necessarily know if I trust him going into the ALCS or World Series if we get there, but I feel long-term he'll get things figured out. And it seems like towards the middle and later half of the season he was, and then just got into a slump at the very end because we faced those National League teams.
Well, yeah, when you say long-term, I mean, he's on contract for next season. Let's say, I mean, he has a good year. How much are you willing to pay him moving forward? Like, are they going to try and re-sign him again, or is it just for next year with Yoshi, you think?
All right. Probably just when I say long-term, I probably was just referring to next year.
I got you.
I thought it was a 3-year contract for half a second. It might have been a 2-year contract. I know he's not going to be here for 10 years. He's an older player for a rookie because of the posting system and having the great career already in Japan as it is. But, in our 2-3 year outlook, our 1-2 year outlook at this point, because the season is almost over, but the regular season is over and we're in the playoffs. I'm always thinking 2021, not so much 2025, but not so much 2020 either. So I'm thinking 2021, then 2022.
Yeah, and the Rays have really played that perfectly. The present and the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then no, go ahead.
I'm just worried about whatever their plans might be for Cole, as Cash says, because I don't see how he could go more than 3 innings in the absolute disaster scenario where they'd have to use him like that. But if he did, it would be in a scenario where things aren't going well for them, but they're still in the game. So will they do a weird opener scenario like they just did yesterday? Which I honestly, I hear all the talk about how it backfired, and I get Hap did really badly, but, the guy they had in here first, Garcia.
Yeah, Devi Garcia.
Yeah, Devi Garcia, he gave up the home run in the first inning. There's no guarantee that he doesn't give up similar amount of runs there either. I get that he had done well throughout the regular season, but I think I remember us going against him one time and touching him up a bit.
No, we hadn't faced him this year.
Oh, we hadn't? All right. So then I'm just thinking about all the other Yankees batters that we did really well against.
Yeah.
Sorry.
As far as I would imagine, Jordan Montgomery is tough. The Rays absolutely destroyed him in the one appearance, and that's fine. I wouldn't see him maybe going more than 2 or 3. Definitely only one time through the order.
They could go Debbie there too. So
absolutely, that's where I was going to go. You're exactly right. And there was talk. Garcia himself said he was going to be ready to go, only pitching an inning. He's a guy that's used to being a starter. He's stretched out, so he's a guy that could give him probably 3 as well. And as you said with Cole, I think Cash. Honestly, I think that was kind of a managerial thing, putting that quote out there, just letting him know, letting Boone know that Cash knows what could be coming. But yeah, I don't think Cole would be used too much. How much can a guy really pitch on 2 days rest? Probably not more than
exactly. It can't be more than 3 for the really quick innings.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't doubt
those would
Cole.
Probably be 3 innings. I know we've actually done sort of well against Cole this year. I remember Kiermaier got the big home run against him in Yankee Stadium. And I know that we got 3 runs off of him, which is a bad day for Cole, even if he's going to go 6-7 innings. 3 runs against him is a pretty good performance. That was enough for them to win because they had the 4 runs and they broke it open late in the game with the other 5, sorry. But I just feel like if Cole's going to come in this early, like he's feeling something well, and I don't think whatever amount of time he's in the game, we won't be doing that well against him. But if we can hold on, we'll hopefully win the series. But yet again, I don't necessarily agree. I agree, and I don't necessarily think that he's going to be pitching tomorrow because it is only 2 days, and if you win Game 4, if you're the Yankees, who are you going to pitch Game 5?
Exactly right.
Yeah, so, you still have to play for another day here for the Yankees, though. Rays have a luxury to where, we could maybe use anyone we want to close this thing out. I also don't necessarily like the idea of going Snell on short rest because, as you said, he got roughed up a bit by the Yankees this series.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
So, I want him to be ready for Game 1 of the ALCS if we can get there.
Yeah, and I think I might have gone a little bit of a stretch making the comparison to last year's playoff because he had that 3 and a third inning start against the Astros in Game 2 through 58 pitches.
Yeah, he only went 2 outs in that last performance, right?
Right, and that's all I would imagine him if he does appear in tomorrow's game. But you're right. That situation in that best of 5 against Houston, they weren't necessarily planning to line Snell up for the ALCS. This year is a lot different, and without the amount of off days and things like that, yeah, I think they're going to be more cautious with Snell. But I wouldn't be surprised just because of, I mean, he's a 4-pitch pitcher. Late in the game, I think that stuff kind of plays. That's just me personally. I think he could maybe get an out or two, but yeah, definitely not more than that. But yeah, I mean, they've got the whole bullpen open. Cash played game 1 conservatively. That was leaving Curtis in there, and it opened up everything else. They've got the whole pen at their disposal. So yeah, I think you're right. They'll try and stay away from Snell.
Yeah. If we were to do that, I think the only way we would do that, and you don't want to use things that are outside of your game to make decisions. I get that. You always want your decisions to be grounded in your own world and not what's going on in, say, Los Angeles. But the only way we could probably use Snell in Game 4 is if the Athletics win Game 4 of their game in the afternoon, and we see that and say, all right, well, they got to play Game 5 too, so we're going to finish this out in Game 4. We're still going to have at least a little bit of rest going into the ALCS, and it's only like a bullpen appearance for Snell, and we've seen starters make short 1-2 out appearances in the playoffs and then start 2 or 3 days later and not even have any reduced pitch load. Like, I think David Price did that a while ago with the Blue Jays.
Gotcha.
Like they were talking about how he could come out of the bull. He never did come out of the bullpen for them, but they kept saying, yeah, he could do that, and he would still have his full pitch load. I think Kershaw's done that once. I don't necessarily. I know he's come out of the pen in the playoffs a few times, but I think he was a closer against the Nationals once, and then he started like Game 1, Game 2 of the NLCS.
Gotcha.
But I knew at this point I'm just trying to remember things and maybe I'm misremembering. So, it's always been fun.
Oh yeah, of
course. I've chatted your ear off enough.
No, man, you're so knowledgeable. I mean, I'm impressed. I mean, you've brought some really good things to the table.
I forgot we didn't play Debbie Garcia. We didn't play against Debbie Garcia this year. So how knowledgeable am I really?
oh no, but that's fair. You said the Rays have roughed up so many Yankee pitchers; it's hard to keep track of them at this point. So definitely no harm to you there. So yeah, definitely appreciate the call. You made the show so much more better than just having me here talking. I can't thank you enough for the call, and I look forward to maybe having you back sometime in the future.
All right, I'll always try to I'll try to see when it's best.
All right, man.
Well, thank you for having me on. Go Gators.
All right. All right, and there he is. Appreciate the call as always. I'll keep the line open, 877-566-1020. We've already gone an hour. No problem with that. I think it's definitely better radio when we have some people calling in, and I appreciated the two guys that did and made the show better. So what I'm going to do now, and maybe blow through a little bit quicker, just tell you what you need to know about tonight's win, and I'm sure you already watched it, but just maybe some stuff that I noticed. Go quickly inning by inning, and then touch on tomorrow's game, because that's going to be a big deal. If you didn't already know, it's going to be Ryan Thompson, the opener, Yarbrough to follow in some extent, going up against Jordan Montgomery, the starter for the Yankees. I guess no announced plans for them, but Debbie Garcia is going to be available. The Yankees didn't mention anything, but Cash said that he would wouldn't be surprised to see Garrett Cole come in, but on 2 days rest, unknown maybe how long that appearance could be. So moving to tonight's win, I'll start going with the box score defensively in the outfield from left to right. Tonight it was Randy Arozarena in left, Kiermaier in center, Austin Meadows in right field, which was a surprise, and in the infield from third to first, it was Joey Wendell at third base, Adames at shortstop, Brandon Lau at second, G-Man Choi at first base, Michael Perez did the catching, and Charlie Morton, the starting pitcher. The DH tonight was Yoshi Tsutsugo, and he batted fifth. I'll start with Meadows, because I had mentioned that there was his final at bat. It was a strikeout. The pitch got away from Gary Sanchez, and he didn't run it out to first. And that had basically told me, because obviously in the playoffs, it's not like an effort thing. I mean, he's coming back from a pretty grueling injury that the Rays weren't even expecting to have him back this early. So I thought that they wouldn't test their luck, having him at DH, and he worked a walk, and then there was a flat to follow, and then the home run. He didn't have to do any real running on the base paths either, so kind of be conservative. But instead, they play him in right, and he actually had a play over there in the right field. The ball kind of got away from him a little bit. That was an RBI double for Aaron Hicks that came in the 5th inning. And then I think it was the 6th inning, they make the defensive replacement for him. Yeah, it was the bottom of the 6th. They put Brett Phillips out there in right, so that makes sense. They had the lead at that point in time. So, Meadows starts in right, and that allows the DH to be opened up for Setsugo because, no way were they going to have Meadows and Setsugo play the field. Yoshi, I don't think they want. I mean, he's played a decent third base. I don't like him in the outfield. I think they've kind of moved away from that. But Joey Wendell, I would say, is significantly better at third base, and his bat has also been very good. He goes 3 for 5 tonight and has been very good in the series. So I like the lineup. They finally went heavy as far as the lefty-righty stuff. They went 7 lefties, I want to say, and 2 righties, if I'm not mistaken, against the right-handed starter of Masahiro Tanaka. And as I mentioned, I think on the caller to Seth, Austin Meadows and Brandon Lau, the first 2 batters, combined for 0 for 9. Meadows was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Lau was 0 for 5 with a strikeout. And then it was Arozarena batting third that really allowed them to kind of carry that spot. He goes 3 for 4 with the solo home run and also walks. Choi in the cleanup spot goes 2 for 5. He's historically, I believe, been pretty good against Tanaka. Setsugo also goes 0 for 5, so the DH spot gives you nothing offensively. I don't love that, but I understand they're trying to get him at bats. Joey Wendell, as I said, 3 for 5. He was great. I love him towards the bottom of the order to kind of get some runs started, and the bottom of the order really came through here tonight. Adames gets a hit and a walk. Kevin Kiermaier a couple hits and a huge home run, and then Michael Perez 2 for 4 and a huge home run of his own, and I think that was the big difference. If Meadows and Lau are going to combine for 0 for 9, well, who's going to pick up the slack when you're scoring 8 runs? And finally, it was the bottom of the order coming through with some timely stuff. Just great. I believe at this point, I want to say that in this series, the Rays have gotten 7 runs batted in out of the 9 spot between Zunino and Perez. That was courtesy of the telecast on TBS tonight. I want to say that's right. And that's kind of been a story for the Rays when the offense is not going. It's Mike Zunino is 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, and Michael Perez. And how about Big Game Mikey? I mean, he was the guy that had 2 game-winning hits in a series against the Yankees in early August, I believe, and then he really did nothing really for the rest of the season. And here he comes tonight. It looks like he was going to bunt with a couple of men on, and it was 0-2. And you're thinking, okay, well, he kind of blew that one. He let a fastball, I think, go right down the middle, and he pulled the bump back, took it for strike 2, and then he sends it into the seats in left field. Another 3 runs for the Rays, so that was kind of a crazy moment. And he had an RBI single in the 2nd inning that put the Rays on top 1-0, and I believe they never looked back from that point. I could be wrong, but. A great game for Mikey. 1 through 9, or rather, I guess 2 through 9 was very good, save for Setsugo. So, game 1, especially, and a little bit of game 2, where there was only a handful of guys contributing and a lot of guys putting up zeros in the hit column. Tonight, a lot of people were getting involved, and obviously when you score 8 runs, that's going to happen a lot. As far as this stat that I love to read out, they went 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Kiermaier 1 for 2. Michael Perez 2 for 2. There's your game right there as I see it. Meadows 0 for 1 and Setsugo 0 for 2. So I forget Yoshi left some meat on the bone for sure in his 0 for 5 night. And they leave a total of 7 base runners, so not bad. Just for the Yankees, for reference, they go 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position and leave 7 men on base as well, although they only score 4 runs rather. Also, the line, I should have led with this, that the Rays win on 8 runs on 13 hits, 2 errors. Both were, one was a fielding error, and I want to say one was a throwing error for Adames. And then the Yankees, 4 runs on 7 hits, no errors for them. From a pitching standpoint, Charlie Morton gave him 5 innings strong. That's what we told you that he would do. His 2 postseason games last year was the identical line, basically 5 innings, an earned run or 2, and about 95 pitches. He does that in about 10 pitches less. 5 innings, an earned run, 2 total runs on 4 hits, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts, 86 pitches, 55 for strikes. As far as establishing that early strike, he faced 22 men and threw a first pitch strike to 14 of them. I just had this in my scorecard, so I figured I'd throw this out. The Yankees lineup the first time through against Morton. They put up only 1 hit, no walks, 3 strikeouts, and no runs. The second time through, they got 1 hit, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 1 run. And then he faced the lineup a third time through, only 4 batters deep. LeMahieu singled off of him, Judge strikes out, Aaron Hicks hit a double, and Luke Voit flew out. So to get those big outs a third time through was big, and that's the Rays' big thing is they don't like pitchers basically through the lineup a third time through, but Morton was able to get the big boys. But at 86 pitches, you go ahead and go to the bullpen. And this was really a huge part of tonight. I always kind of say to look deeper into the box score, things like that. Don't just look at a guy going 0 for 4 with a walk or the bullpen a certain way. It goes deeper into that, and the Rays, the offense playing the way that they did allowed them to not have to use the A pen. They used Castillo in the ninth, and that's fine. He only threw 13 pitches, so if Kevin Cash is okay with him going on 3 straight days, he'll be available tomorrow. But it was John Curtis and Shane McClanahan, and I think 2 stories that kind of coincide with each other. For John Curtis, gave up the 5 earned runs in the 9th inning. That was a 1-run Yankees lead that turned into a 6-run lead and put the game out of reach in the 9th inning. And obviously he had his head hung pretty low. And Kevin Cash is all about giving guys big spots to get their confidence up. In the regular season, that's fine. Okay, what about Game 3 of the American League Division Series when it's tied 1 game apiece? Go ahead, John Curtis, and go pitch multiple innings. But he does. An inning and 2/3, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, a strikeout, 24 pitches, 17 strikes. So for whatever reason, I don't know if it was nerves in Game 1, but here in Game 3, he was throwing strikes. He faced 7 men, only threw a first pitch strike to 2 of them, so that wasn't as good. But got guys out. An inning and 2/3 was huge. And then Shane McClanahan, who made the first pitcher to make his major league debut in the postseason, got the final out of Game 1. And then we weren't quite sure what the spot was going to be for him. They had him in a situation where he only needed to get 1 out. And he did. He got the final out of the 7th inning. He got Aaron Hicks to fly out. And you're thinking maybe that's it. They want to be careful with him. No. They have him go out and pitch the entire 8th inning as well. He should have gotten Luke Voit out. It was an error by Adames. So he puts Voit at second. And then Giancarlo Stanton sends one into the seats to put up 2 runs. And I think that was kind of McClanahan's welcome to the show moment. And to Seth's point, as he had mentioned, really did a good job of settling down from that point. The base is clear, still nobody out. He was able to reset. Got Urshela to ground out, struck out Torres, and struck out Brett Gardner. So the bottom of the order there, and that's why Cash left him in that spot, because he knew that McClanahan could handle it, and he did. And then Diego Castillo having that very easy, perfect 1-2-3 9th inning. By the way, a complete carbon copy. I felt like I was in a Black Mirror episode or something like that. The final out of yesterday's win was a 5-3 ground out from Aaron Judge, and guess what? It was the exact same for the final out here tonight. It was a weird little phenomena, certainly. Who was the pitcher? It was Fairbanks that time, so at least it was a different pitcher. I'm like, whoa, and just they did it again. But good to see the Rays win again, and that's really the most important part. I guess I'll go quickly through the box score. I don't really want to bog this thing down, but I'll go quickly through. Top of the first inning, Meadows strikes out swinging on a 6-pitch at bat. One thing I'll say about him is he looked like he was going to be fine DHing in Game 2. He took a lot of pitches for balls that were out of the zone, and I think the home plate umpire Mark Carlson was a little bit better than CB Buckner was last night. But really struggled at the plate. He strikes out swinging to open it, as did Brandon Lau. And then, as has been the case in the first 2 games of this series, not a home run, but Randy Arozarena gets a 2-out hit in the first inning. It was a single to shallow center, and then Choi flies out on the first pitch to end things. Bottom of the first, a very easy 1-2-3 for Morton, getting the big boys out. LeMahieu, Judge, and Hicks all out. He threw only 10 pitches in the inning, 7 for strikes. So I was thinking back, I had watched Game 3 of the ALDS last year. Morton started against Houston, and he threw 30 pitches in the first inning, 20 pitches in the second inning. So he's up to 50 after 2, and I was expecting more of the same. His bases loaded jam ended up coming a little later in the game. And he had retired, Morton did, the first 7 men that he faced here tonight, and that was a big part of his start. It was cruising, something, I don't know if it played a role, but it certainly looked like it did. He seemed like he had a much easier time pitching from the windup than from the stretch. I mean, he's a 36-year-old guy, he's done it all, but just seemed like he was more comfortable and had more conviction almost with his pitches, pitching from the windup a little, it was kind of cruising through until he wasn't and had to go from the stretch and had the bases loaded, but that came later. Top of the second against Tanaka, the Rays get on the board. Tsutsugo flies out to start things, part of his 0 for 5 night. Wendell singles on the first pitch that he sees. It was a slider left over the middle of the plate, and that was really what got Tanaka tonight. Usually he's, I believe his pitches is, he's got fastball. He does have a splitter officially. A lot of splitters, a lot of curveballs down, and the Rays historically will chase that. Instead, Tanaka, I think, making an adjustment, was going up more, and the Rays really just really knocked the crap out of him in that regard. So Wendell singles to get a man on. Then Adames reaches on an infield single on the first pitch as well. A slider up, so it's the same way. So you got a couple of men on with only 1 out. Kiermaier strikes out swinging, and that was a tough at-bat for him. It was on a 2-2 count. So he had taken a couple of pitches to get back in the AB, and then it was a slider down, middle down on the slider, and chased it as he is one to do. But then Michael Perez comes through on a full count, a slider down and away from the lefty, singles to right field. It was right off the glove of DJ LeMahieu, the 6'3" second baseman in shallow right because of the shift. I mean, Perez hits right into the shift, but again, glancing off the leather of DJ LeMahieu and into shallow right field that scores. Scores Wendell, moves Adames to third, and then Meadows leaves him there. With runners at the corner, strikes out in just 3 pitches, and a lot of hittable pitches. He fouls off a 90-mile-an-hour fastball basically down the middle, swings and misses at a 93-mile-an-hour fastball up, and then swings and misses at an 86-mile-an-hour slider, middle. He couldn't make contact with it. He's having a frustrating time. I don't like that in the leadoff spot. I'm not in love with Randy Arozarena leading off. He doesn't see a lot of pitches in the at-bat either. Some of that is byproduct of he just gets home runs early in counts. I would kind of like to see a guy like maybe G-Man Choi lead off tomorrow, but I don't know exactly what they'll do. So Meadows struck out to leave runners at the corners, but they're up 1-0, a run on 3 hits there. Bottom of the second, Morton gets another 1-2-3. He gets a Voit, and then gets Stanton and Urshela to strike out. So there you go. Threw 16 pitches in the second, 10 of them for strikes. So he really was cruising. Top of the third, nothing going against Tanaka. Lau lines out. Arozarena singles. So he had started off his day 2 for 2 in his first 2 at-bats, and he was batting above 700 in the playoffs. G-Man Choi moves him over, so Arozarena in scoring position with 2 outs, and Tsutsugo flies or pops out basically to first base to end the inning. It was a slider kind of down and into him, and he just kind of popped it up. So did work a good at-bat, though. It was on a full count, but just couldn't come through. Bottom of the third with Morton on the mound, gets Gleyber Torres to strike out swinging, and this is where it got a little bit hairy. Brett Gardner singles to left. It was a fastball at 95, and I forgot to say this. Charlie Morton, I question his velocity. He came out throwing like 95, 96, and kept the velocity relatively well. Had the cutter going as well. That's Morton's thing. All of his pitches have movement. His 4-seam fastball moves kind of like a 2-seamer. His cutter has drastic action, and his sweeping curveball that we all know about. And all of it was working tonight. Seth had kind of mentioned, we weren't quite sure what we were going to get from him, and I think he exceeded expectations by giving us really what we just should have expected, 5 innings of 1 run. That is Charlie Morton. And in the playoffs and in this series, you take that and you say thank you, because it really came through and you didn't even have to go to really your A pen much. So that helped a lot. But so with 1 on and 1 out, Gardner at first base, Higashioka, the catcher, is safe. It should have been ruled a hit. It was kind of like against the shift. And Adames really, it takes a plus shortstop to be able to even get that ball and keep it in the infield, because Gardner would have been able to move further, maybe to third base. He only gets to second. So, but they called an error on Adames, fine. It was a curveball that the catcher just made contact with. So it's first and second with only one out. Then he walks DJ LeMahieu. It was a 5-pitch at bat. Just couldn't find the zone. He was working out to him, but just couldn't find anything. So the bases are loaded in a 1-0 game with one out. And up comes Aaron Judge. So you're thinking, oh boy, there goes game 3. Aaron Judge hits a sacrifice fly. It was a curveball up in the zone, so I guess kind of up and away, by the way. So that's like tee-off zone for Judge, and all he could do was fly out to right. Did score Brett Gardner, and it wasn't even that deep into right, but Meadows not able to put a good throw on it. So it's 1-1. Then he walks Aaron Hicks to reload the bases on 5 pitches. Was working all in. There was all cutters and fastballs into the switch hitter batting lefty in that at bat. So that reloads the bases. And then he gets the cleanup man, the home run leader in the MLB this year. And that's one thing I should have mentioned earlier, I guess, in the week. You talk about the New York Yankees being the New York Yankees. Their leadoff hitter is the batting king, and their cleanup hitter is the MLB leader in home runs. That is the New York Yankees. And of course, that's the way it is. But Voit, the cleanup man, again, the leader in home runs, grounds out to shortstop. He was up 3-0 in the count. Then he takes a couple of sinkers. One maybe a favorable call. I know Yankee fans were crying about it. And then he gives him another sinker in the zone. And this time, Voit had to swing at it, and it was just a ground out to, I believe, a nice play as well by Adames. So Morton getting through that bases loaded jam. Bases loaded, one out. Only comes away with 1 run. I was getting more flashbacks to the wild card game last year. Morton is just tailor-made for these big moments. Always has his wits about him. Again, 36-year-old veteran. Knowing that each game could be his last, I don't really see him coming back next year. I think it's either a player or a team option, but unless either side opts in, he won't end up coming back. So a guy that I guess maybe emptying the tank a little bit, and he's having probably a lot of fun doing it. So got out of that jam after 3 innings. It was 1-1. Tanaka on the mound. They don't end up chasing him in the 4th inning. But Wendell singles to shallow center to start off. Then Adames walks, so they put a couple of men on. And then Kiermaier, who missed in that at bat in the 2nd inning with those 2 men on, he struck out. This time 373 feet to right, reminiscent of that home run in Game 3 of the ALDS last year. Scores 3 runs, makes it 4-1 Rays, puts them in the driver's seat. And then with the bases clear, nothing going. Perez, Meadows, and Lau all retired. So they got 4 runs and 4 innings off of Tanaka. You'll take that. Morton in the 4th navigated through an easy inning against the bottom of the order. Gets Stanton a strikeout again, so that was very nice to see, kind of quieting him, although he still hit another home run, because why wouldn't he? But then gets Urshela to fly out, gives up a single to Torres, but then gets Brett Gardner to strike out. So an easy inning for him. I missed it. In the 3rd inning, Morton threw 27 pitches, 14 for strikes. So 27 pitches, bases loaded. And then in the 4th inning, 17 pitches, 13 for strikes. Top of the 5th we go. Rays chase Masahiro Tanaka. Randy Arozarena leads the inning off, 398 feet to left. Makes it 5-1 Rays. They take out Tanaka. In comes Chad Green. Choi singles, Setsugo and Wendell both strike out, and Adames strikes out, or grounds out rather, to end the inning. So Arozarena hot again. He had started the game 3 for 3 at that point and would add a walk right after that. So Arozarena, red hot. Just ride the wave. Don't even look about next year right now. Live in the now. And the Rays are doing that right now. He'd probably be batting 2nd or 3rd tomorrow, to be honest with you. Maybe 2nd if Lau's out of the order. Bottom of the 5th, Morton gets his 5th and final inning. Gets Higashioka to line out. DJ LeMahieu reaches on an infield single. Gets Judge to strike out. Then Aaron Hicks doubles to deep right. Almost was a home run. It seems like to right. That field plays kind of short. Almost like Yankee Stadium, but not quite. And then Austin Meadows has some trouble digging it out. LeMahieu would have scored out of the way. That makes it 5-2. And then he stays in and gets Voit again with men in scoring position. So that was big to see. So Voit 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position in a big spot. So after 5 innings, it was 5-2, and Morton's day was done there. Just the line one more time: 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, 4 hits, 2 runs, only 1 of them earned. So top of the 6th, Chad Green still on. Kiermaier doubles, and then Perez homers him home. So that was big to see. And again, it looked like they were going to try and bunt him over to third, and on an 0-2 count. A 97-mile-an-hour fastball that was probably out of the zone, and Perez hits an opposite field home run, 390 feet to left to make it 7-2 Rays. In comes Luis Cessa. Meadows strikes out. Lau grounds out. Randy Arozarena works a walk. The Rays aren't done. Choi double scores Arozarena 8-2, and then Tsutsugo lines out to leave another runner in scoring position. Bottom of the 6th, Brett Phillips comes in to play right field and takes Meadows out, gets him off his feet. It's the right move in an 8-2 game, absolutely, 100% all the way. John Curtis comes on again in that redemption spot. Giancarlo Stanton gets a hit on the first pitch that he sees, a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, pretty much middle. Thankful it's only a single. Urshela flies out. Torres flies out, and Gardner strikes out swinging, so he was able to get through that. Bottom of the order with no problem. Top of the 7th, Nick Nelson comes on. It was a single for Joy Wendell, and then Adames and Kiermaier, and also Perez retired. Bottom of the 7th, Curtis gets another 2 outs. Higashioka lines out. LeMahieu grounds out, so got that one hitter. Aaron Judge does single in an 8-2 game, 1 on, 1 out. They bring in Shane McClanahan. I thought for just that one batter, he did get Aaron Hicks to fly out. It was on a 2-0 count, so just all fastballs. A little willy-nilly with the control, but got the fly out there, and you think maybe it's done, but he ended up pitching another inning. Top of the 8th, against Michael King, nothing going. Phillips strikes out in his, looks like only at-bat of the game. Lau grounds out. Arozarena grounds out. So they'll go with the 6-run lead into the 8th, and Shane McClanahan stays on. Luke Voit is safe on an error. It was just a routine play. Adames waited too long, held it, and then had to rush the throw, and it was high. Voit gets all the way to second base, and you're thinking, yeah, they're probably going to get at least 1 run out of it. Then Giancarlo Stanton just clears the bases 410 feet to center. An absolute man with blast, a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, middle. Saw some off-speed stuff, a wicked slider, and he's got a splitter as well. By the way, if you're not familiar with him, he is kind of a starting pitching type. He started most of his games in the minor leagues a season ago. So that made it 8-4, cut the lead, but then gets Urshela to ground out, and then Torres and Gardner to strike out. So good on McClanahan again, as Seth said earlier in the show, really with the good response there, and put the Yankees to their final 3 outs. Michael King stays on in the 9th and gets Choi, Tsutsugo, and Wendell. And then in the bottom of the 9th, a little chess match, McClanahan actually stayed on. Then Clint Frazier was announced as the pinch hitter for Higashioka, so they got the lefty, the righty on lefty, and then Kevin Cash said, screw this, I'm putting in my righty, Diego Castillo, and then Boone responds with that to put in the lefty Mike Ford. So it went back and forth a little bit, just so Mike Ford could fly out, or pop up to the catcher for out number 1. LeMahieu grounds out to shortstop, and again, the carbon copy, Aaron Judge grounds out to third to end the inning. So I guess you want to talk takeaways. Charlie Morton, he's that guy still at 36. He's doing that thing. The velocity is back. Really pitched a good game. He always gets in a jam, but was able to navigate it like he usually can. Got nothing out of Meadows and Lau tonight, but that's fine because Randy Arozarena was the anchor in the top of that order. G-Man Choi looked good. He looks to be back. Plays a good first base. Gets a couple of hits. Can work a walk in a big spot. Setsugo gave you nothing, 0 for 5. Wendell, huge player. No one's going to really talk about it, but he plays a really good third base and also goes 3 for 5. So he also had a good game, too. I just want to pull this up. In game 2, he went 2 for 3 with a walk. So he's been huge in this series, a big part of what the Rays have been doing, especially in the bottom of the order. Love that. Adames, a couple of errors, but ultimately, I mean, he's your shortstop. He's there. He made some good plays as well. And then Michael Perez, big game Mikey, 2 for 4. That 3-run homer, the RBI single in the first, the 2-run homer in the 6th inning, just huge. Can't see it any other way than that. Of course, coming through again with the Yankees, hit a couple of game-winning hits against them in a series in August. Got a couple of big hits here tonight, so love that against Masahiro Tanaka and really the Rays. This could be Masahiro Tanaka's, I guess, final game for the Yankees. His contract is up. 4 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs. They end up chasing him. Tried to get through a 5th inning, but it was Randy Arozarena who had other thoughts. And didn't have to burn up the A bullpen necessarily. I mean, Chad Green. And let's transition to that now, previewing tomorrow's game, and then get you up and out of here if we've got anybody still tuned in. Looking at Game 1, the Yankees used Chad Green for an inning, Britton for an inning, Sessa for an inning. In Game 2, they used at Ottavino, got a couple of outs, Loaizaga pitched a couple of innings, Jonathan Holder an inning, and Nick Nelson an inning. So, Aroldis Chapman has yet to appear in this series. Let me just pull up the Yankees roster and just see. Britton will be available to pitch. Chad Green probably available to pitch. That's your A bullpen along with Ottavino. And then pretty much, I mean, they've I guess done a pretty good job of keeping everyone on just 1 inning basis. I mean, Nick Nelson, Michael King probably no. Nick Nelson, yes, potentially. So they've got everyone. Potential for Garrett Colt to maybe pitch an inning, I don't know. And then Devi Garcia, he only pitched an inning in Game 2, so that opens up potential for length. I mean, don't be surprised if he can pitch 3 innings in Game 4 and give the Yankees some length behind the starting pitcher, Jordan Montgomery, and I'll go there now. It'll be Ryan Thompson, the opener, versus Jordan Montgomery, and to look at what they did against Jordan Montgomery, it was a 5-2 final. That came on the day after, again, Chapman threw at the head of Brasso, and then the Rays came out with a vengeance the next day. Montgomery doesn't get out of the first inning. 2 outs, 4 runs on 5 hits. Right out of the gate, I'll just go there. Margot led off, doubles against him. Arozarena a homer, 2-0. Meadows gets on with a single. Then Brasso hits a homer to make it 4-0. And then a myriad of other stuff. Adames doubles off of him as well. So those are the only guys that he faced, and only one time up. So Adames will be in there. I'd imagine Brasso will be in there. I don't know about Meadows. Don't know about Margot. Randy Arozarena will be in there. And that's an interesting conversation to have. Do you go heavy righties against the lefty Montgomery when you know he's probably not pitching more than 2 or 3 innings at best? I don't imagine he's going to give him a lot of length unless all of a sudden he's just going to go 5 scoreless. The Yankees, again, pitching with their backs to the wall. They don't have another game to give. They have to win or they go home. So they're going to be inclined to make that early move to the pen. And we had a caller earlier that made a good point about even if they win, you got to play Game 5 the next day. So they can only burn through so many guys. I'm sure Chapman will pitch an inning certainly in any spot just to keep the game close if they're down. And again, the A pen. I mean, they've got they can really go to an A pen and get a 6th, 7th, and 8th inning. I mean, I don't know, Chad Green in the 6th, Ottavino in the 7th. What is it? And then another guy, and then Chapman in the 9th. I think I got a little bit turned around there. But they've got guys, and again, Devi Garcia will probably pitch. Garrett Cole maybe, although they're probably saving him for Game 5. If there is a Game 5, don't be surprised if he pitches on just 3 days rest. I think that's probably the plan and the hope, but they may just throw that out the window. I have no idea who would start for them if it did get to a Game 5. They really don't have anyone that could do that. So interesting there. I guess I'll transition over to what the Rays' plans are going to be, and I'll start with this. It's going to be Ryan Thompson, the opener, and the righty. I mean, the lineup that the Yankees usually go with. I mean, he'll have to face LeMahieu, Judge, and probably Hicks in the first inning. And then if you want to bring him out to get a couple of outs in the second, that's fine. He's going to have to face probably Voit and Stanton as well. So if you want Thompson, if you've got faith that he can get the big boys out, he's only pitched in just Game 1. He pitched. Let's see. It was Game 1. In Game 1, he pitched 2 innings, scoreless, and hasn't pitched since then. I just want to pop that open and see who he faced, just to be absolutely sure. That came in the 6th and 7th inning. So Thompson comes on, Urshela singles, Torres grounds into a double play, hits Gardner, Gets Higashioka to ground out, so at the bottom of the order. And then in the 7th, LeMahieu hits a single, then Judge grounds into a double play. Hicks hits a single, and then Voit flies out. So I don't feel great about that. The top of the order had some success against him in the only time that he's been in this series. So I don't know, but the potential there, not just for the first inning, and if he doesn't get a 1-2-3 inning, like I'm saying, he's probably only going to face, I guess I should say, probably 5 batters or so. I would say you probably hand the baton off to Yarbrough unless they want to go double barrel opener, which just to get a first time through the lineup, and then maybe if they just want to go Yarbrough via LeMahieu or whatever and just have him kind of coast like a regular start, that's fine. But I would like to see Yarbrough get kind of eased in if that's even possible, like Urshela, Torres, Gardner, and maybe Gary Sanchez is in there. So that would be the plan. So again, Thompson for maybe an inning and a third, inning and 2/3. Then I would imagine it would be Ryan Yarbrough. My indication, he's probably going to pitch about 3 innings. That's what he did in his final appearance of the season, 3 1/3 behind an opener against the Phillies on September the 26th. But I mean, he's a guy, he can go 6 or 7 out of his start. So it's not about ability, it's just about matchups. Yarbrough is a soft tosser, a lot of off-speed stuff, rarely hits 90, kind of likes to bite around the zone, so I'd imagine Yarbrough may have a bit trouble pushing across strikes. The walks may mount up a little bit, and that can get you into some trouble. And if he challenges guys like Stanton, they could also take him out of the yard. But on the flip side, the Yankees have had to face power pitchers so far in the series. Snell, Glasnow, and to an extent in Game 3, Morton. I wouldn't necessarily consider him a power pitcher, but he throws fastballs at 95 plus up in the zone, so I guess that's a power pitcher. So look at it either way. Either the Yankees are going to tee off on a soft tosser, or they're going to get fooled up because it's a change of pace. So either way, I probably wouldn't face the lineup, like maybe 1.5 times through, maybe. And again, that's 3 1/3. He faced 12 total batters in that appearance in the 3 1/3. So that gets you, about an inning and a half through the order. So that's what I would expect. And then after that, you've got pretty much the whole bullpen open. Nick Anderson will be good to go, of course. Diego Castillo potentially on a back-to-back could go. John Curtis is out. Peter Fairbanks could go. He's part of your A pen, and then you go to some other guys. I don't think McClanahan will appear. So the only guys I wouldn't expect to see is John Curtis and McClanahan, and they did such a big part of getting outs tonight. Aaron Slegers is a guy that could get 2 innings. So let's say maybe an inning and 2/3 from Thompson. Then Yarbrough gets you 3 1/3. So then you're talking about the 5th or 6th inning. Slegers could potentially get you into the 8th or something along those lines, and then all you have to do is maybe get 3 outs for Nick Anderson. So, and if Slegers can give you 2, then you shorten everyone else. Maybe Thompson goes 1, maybe Yarbrough goes 2 1/3, 2 2/3, and then you get 2 from Slegers, because you've got guys all that can face 3 batters. You've got Aaron Loop, although I wouldn't expect to see that because it's pretty much all righties for the Yankees. I'm not even sure why he was on this roster, to be honest with you. Fairbanks in a big spot, and also Drake. I would expect maybe to face 3 batters at some point over the course of this game. And then just a wild card I would throw out there. What I've gathered tonight, it seems like the Rays would probably prefer to just have him lined up to start Game 1 of the ALCS, hopefully if they make it. But just to take you back to last year, he started Game 2 of the best-of-5 against Houston, went 3 1/3, 58 pitches. Pitched on 2 days rest. Got the final 2 outs of Game 4. And then pitched an inning and a third in Game 5. So he's a guy that can't pitch out of the pen. He's done it before. That was the first time that he's ever pitched in relief. So he's got that experience. I wouldn't expect it. It's not part of the plan, but it's a wild card. I would imagine Blake Snell will be sitting out in the bullpen instead of the dugout tomorrow in Game 4. So just be on the lookout for that. Let's say maybe Nick Anderson gets the top guys in the 7th or the 8th, and then and maybe give him the whole 9th or an out into the 9th. you just say, yeah, Snell, we'll let you face Urshela and Torres. Don't be surprised if Snell gets out there because they feel confident. I don't know if we still have him listening. Sebastian sent me a question, and basically he said, why do you think Snell's slider would be better out of the pen? Is it because hitters are more likely to chase in later innings? It's not exactly that. It's just when you're... And of course, the situation will differentiate because, a hitter's approach when they're up or down is always different, whether they like it or not. But when you're facing Snell as a starter, basically what you want to do, like the first time through the order, you just want to see as many pitches as you can. You're going to take stuff, and you're kind of right. That slider that Snell throws so drastically and is never really called for strikes, out of the back end of the bullpen, when he faces a couple of batters in the ninth, yeah, they may swing for that because it's not about let's just work Snell and see if we can get his pitch count up. No, he's coming out of the bullpen. He's a reliever. You're not trying to work him. You're trying to get on base. And then all of a sudden your mindset changes where all of a sudden you're pressing because you only have a couple of outs left. You don't have 27 outs left in the game. You're down to your final 1 or 2 and your season's on the line. And all of a sudden, that slider starts to look really enticing, and you may bite at it. And I remember I was there in Game 4. I remember he came out of the pen. It was electric stuff. Struck out a man, and then got a ground out. And that was exciting, and he got the save there. That was cool for him to see, for everyone to see him do that. So I wouldn't rule it out. I'm kind of talking myself into it. So that if you're still listening, Sebastian, that would just be my explanation to it. It's just the hitters' mindsets are a little bit different, and that pitch, because it is a good slider, he just needs to throw it more in the zone, so hitters will have some respect for it. But in the back end of a game, that kind of all goes out the window. So I've had a couple of people already tell me they don't want to see it. And to an extent, I would prefer not to see it either if they can just win in blowout fashion and just punch their ticket to the ALCS against either Oakland or Houston. It looked like Houston was going to wrap that up, by the way, and then Oakland came back and win it, so they'll play Game 4 tomorrow. So that was just the preview for the game. Also, I'm all over the place. I got to give you the lineup as well. So I would imagine against, and I brought this up, it's going to be up to Cash what they want to do. If they want to go heavy righties to attack Montgomery early, they've got the ability to do platoon stuff. So as soon as like a righty, Debbie Garcia, comes in, they can flip and put all the lefties in. But I would imagine they're going to kind of play it straight like they did in Game 2 when they knew that Boone was trying to screw with them and he went righty, lefty. So I would go with that. Brasso, who had the home run off of Jordan Montgomery, you want that matchup. And Lau, who's been off absolutely abysmal, there's your opportunity. A clean swap at second base. I would be inclined to have Brasso lead off against Montgomery. And then I would probably go with Randy Arozarena batting second, and maybe left field will go. Batting third, I know I'm going to have to kind of piece this together on the fly. Maybe go G-Man Choi and bat him third and have him play first base. And then I'll have Renfroe. I'll have Renfroe play right field and bat cleanup, and that way when Montgomery comes out of the game and maybe Garcia comes in, you put in maybe you put in Meadows or you put in Margot, but get Renfroe maybe that at bat to Montgomery, and then maybe see what happens. Also, I'll get to that. Maybe swap it out, but I would imagine maybe Yandy Diaz will be in the lineup at the DH spot because they want that righty and lefty power matchup. So expect Yandy Diaz probably to DH. Further down the line, Joey Wendell should play third base and bat towards the bottom. Willie Damas will play shortstop and bat towards the bottom. Mike Zunino will catch, and get that righty and lefty and catch that all those pitchers that are going to come in. You'd rather have, I think, Zunino in that spot. And then obviously Kiermaier in center. I'm going Arozarena in left, as I said, and then I'm going to start Renfroe in right and bat him clean up and see what happens. But then I'll switch him out for Margot, Meadows, Phillips, pick your poison there, and then have Yandy Diaz be the DH. Yandy could lead off. He could bat third. He could bat cleanup. He could bat fifth or sixth. So spots are hard to determine, but that's me personally where I would go with that. So that's the preview for tomorrow's game. Again, it'll be Ryan Thompson v. Jordan Montgomery. Just final, the Dodgers 6-5 over the Padres, as I'll transition and let you kind of know what went on in the major leagues today. Seth had mentioned something about Kershaw. He went 6 innings, 3 runs. end up getting the win. The bullpen did its job. Kelly Jansen and Blake Trinan got combined for 4 outs. Emilio Pagan sighting. He pitched a clean inning for Murray. It was Davies for the Padres taking the loss in that one. So now the Dodgers are up 2-0. Yeah, the Padres are done. The Dodgers, I'm sure, will advance now to the NLCS against what looks like to be the Braves, as they're now up 2-0, 2-0 over the Marlins after a 2-0 win. Tomorrow it'll be Kyler Wright v. Sixto Sanchez, so maybe the Marlins delay it a day. And then for the Dodgers and Padres, no announced starters there. And then the only other game, the Athletics 9-7 over the Astros. They come back a little bit late and keep their postseason alive. Houston is up 2-1 and has the Athletics with their backs against the wall. Tomorrow at 2, Braves and Marlins. Again, Kyler Wright, Sixto Sanchez, 3:30. Frankie Montas going for the A's, undecided for Houston. Zach Greinke, I think, is still dealing with an injury. And then obviously we know at 7:10 on TBS, Ryan Thompson v. Jordan Montgomery. And before I let you go, what would a William Haynes show be if we weren't talking Buccaneers football? The 3-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the road to play the 3-1 Chicago Bears. I just want to pull this up just to see what the weather, just to give you an idea what it would be like in Chi-Town tomorrow night. Probably about low or high 50s, low 60s, so not super cold. So not necessarily going to change the game plan or anything, but this isn't going to be Tampa Bay. Right now, it looks like the last time I checked, the Buccaneers I know they're favorites. The line is 3.5, so it's come down a little bit, I think. So money's coming in on the Bears. The Bears at 3-1. Looking at their recent history, they lost against the Colts last week by a score of 19-11, and I know that was a real boring game. Their wins come against the Lions, the Giants, and the Falcons, so they're not a great team. They've turned it over to Nick Foles. One thing I'll tell you is that the last time Nick Foles faced the Bucs, it came in, I think, 2019, I want to say, or no, 2018. And he really struggled. That came right after the Super Bowl win, and Wentz was still struggling with the injury. But that defense really shut down Foles. So expect more of the same. I'm going to go Bucs minus 3.5 to win and cover. The Bucs are on fire right now. Looking at their game last week, that comeback win, 21-point comeback, I believe, 38-31 against the Chargers. I know that the Bucs are going to be without a couple of guys. Running back Kenyon Barner is going to be out. He got busted with PEDs. I think the receiver, we have it here. LaShawn McCoy's out. Mike Evans is questionable. Leonard Fournette is doubtful and I believe ruled out. Scotty Miller has been ruled out. Scotty Miller is questionable. Justin Watson is out. So, and also Chris Godwin is out. So we could be in a position where the Bucs are without Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller, and Justin Watson. Your top 4 receivers could be out for this game, and that's where that line is so close. And it looks like your top 2 running backs, LaShawn McCoy and Leonard Fournette, are going to be out. So it's going to be a big rojo game, and no real injuries. A couple of safeties and a wide receiver for the Bears on the injury report. So the Bucs are dinged up a little bit. I'll still take the Bucs minus 3.5. What the heck? To be honest with you, I'm not going to be watching this game. I'm going to be watching the Rays and trying to see if they can punch their ticket to the ALCS. So that'll be all fun and good to see. I think we got everything. Wanted to thank everyone who tuned in tonight. It was a big night for the Rays, and I feel really honored to have so many of you guys listening. Had a couple of callers, great callers. Makes the show better always. I'm grateful. I'm humbled to take your calls, have you guys on the air. If anyone's still listening, thank you again for tuning in. I will be on the air if they lose. I will not if they win. If they win, I'll be back Friday. Because I'll be celebrating myself. The champagne is chilling in the fridge. Hopefully they'll win. If they don't, I'll be back. And if they win, I'll be back on Friday. If they lose, I'll be here tomorrow night. Hopefully we won't see you then.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66 FM.
HBC.